Both of these players reached gold in this current season, so they are still continuing to climb. Remember that if you have not yet gotten titanium, now is your last chance to do so. You've got 24 days to hit titanium for the last possible time. And we're getting a good look at the history of Solforge here. We start off on turn 1 with a card from the alpha, maybe even the beta, but definitely one of the original cards here. I think this card has been around since beta. Steelforged Avatar. +1/+1 for each Aloyan card in your hand. One of the reason that these players are playing a mono Aloyan deck. Then we see a G.S.F. Commando and a Gauntlets to knock down some of the health. The biggest difference in these decks, I believe, is that Sobrah has access to G.S.F. Commando, and I'm not sure what Naka is playing instead. Both players are opting for the patrons, obviously. That is the other reason to stick mostly to mono Aloyan. And then a Nexus Bubble. So he just changed his guy into a 14/8. That's still going to be able to get taken down with a G.S.F. Commando here. More than likely. But it is going to get some damage onto Sobrah. So G.S.F. Commando can hit it for 4. And then something else can hit it. Looks like we see a bubble for Sobrah as well, so both players are bubbled up. Okay, both players do have G.S.F. Commando. Okay, so it looks like the lists are pretty much the same, other than Naka having an Aegis Knight alt art. Otherwise they are otherwise they're working with the same things here. So that is going to be a Frontline Combatant to match his bubble. Frontline Combatant was able to take out or trade with the creature in the center lane, and then G.S.F. Commando used its ping trigger to take out a little of the health on Patron of Anvillon. Both players are bubbled up. We have yet to see, at least on stream, I don't think that these two played each other in the Swiss either, but we have yet to see a mono Aloyan mirror. Relic Hunter replacing Relic Scouts, and Relic Hunter replacing Patron. Double Hunter turn, pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy. I feel like Nexus Bubble is pretty big in the match, but at the same time, just playing huge, beefy creatures seems to be Naka's plan. Sobrah is going for the Nexus Bubble G.S.F. Commando approach, as well as Gauntlets of Sulgrim. He is able to take out the Relic Hunter in lane 5 with a Gauntlets on the G.S.F. Commando, and then a trigger from the G.S.F. Commando. Meanwhile, we have a 1/8 Relic Scout that's not even going to die to an Avatar here. So usually you don't see a Scout stick around for that long, though it was potentially a spell heavy hand. Here we go. Here is a bubble plus a G.S.F. Commando for Naka. So Naka is getting in on the bubbling and G.S.F. Commandoing, which I think is going to be pretty important as we get into the next player level. Gauntlets become pretty clutch here. Let's see if Sobrah can level up another G.S.F. Commando. That would be really good for him. as G.S.F Commandos are super snowbally here. He is instead going to level up a Patron and play a third bubble. So we have a triple bubble now from Sobrah. And then we are going to see the Relic Hunter get pinged a little bit here. But we've got a 10-18 that is triple bubbled. Triple bubble seems really good to me. And Naka agrees as well. We see a triple bubble from him. And where is he going to send his... Okay, he gets 2 swings of 12 points of damage. He throws 12 points at the G.S.F. and then 12 points at the G.S.F. again from his activation. So 12 was from the gauntlets and then 12 was from the activation. And then these two guys are just going to look at each other in the center lane for a little bit. Sobrah needs another Patron to double that attack, but he needs even more than that. He needs to put an Ironbound Reinforcements 1 in lane 2 and then play a Patron. And that's not going to deal with the bubbles. But it is going to leave him with an 18. Instead, he's got Gauntlets to... Okay, so he goes Gauntlets to take out the Relic Hunter, and then Gauntlets to start to take off the G.S.F., and then he can finish it off there. So now we are looking at an 8-25, but all that really does is clog up the center lane, because if Naka is now able to draw a G.S.F Commando, he's just going to be able to play that, and he'll be able to play that in the center lane for free. So even a level 1 Commando is pretty good for Naka, because Sobrah isn't really clocking him with this 8-8 either. So, pretty stalled out game. I think we're going to see a lot of this. As long as one player can't snowball super hard, which I don't think they're going to be able to with frontline combatants and the like. The way that you are able to snowball super hard is by continually Relic Huntering. But aside from that, I think both players are going to have enough time to be able to triple bubble. You just want to bubble at every chance that you get, and then start playing your G.S.F Commandos, and that looks like what we're going to see here. These two creatures in the center lane both have enough armor to completely negate the damage from each other. We'd need to see like a double Patron now from Sobrah to break through this. Oh, you know what? Aegis Knight. That's definitely a way to break through it. I changed my mind. Aegis Knight is enough to break through it. It makes it deal damage equal to its armor, so it's going to deal 7 damage right across. And then, even so, I was waiting until we started seeing cards getting replaced. Obviously, you're going to replace your Relic Scouts in the matchup. But the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to replace your center lane creatures, and you're going to turn your center lane creatures into G.S.F Commandos. Because you really want those Nexus Bubbles, which give 3 armor to the card in the center lane. You're really going to want those Nexus Bubbles to be affecting your G.S.F Commandos here. So I think we are in for a pretty long game, but it's going to be a pretty long game that will also end in short order. Because late game, 1 unblocked creature, we've seen what you can do with that. You can easily turn 8 damage into 32 and other similar plays. We are probably going to get to see some heralds here. Yeah, this is pretty cool. We're going to get to see a big history of the game. The only thing that we're not going to get to see is any Forgeborns. There's no level 4 cards in this matchup, but we are going to see Herald. The Herald mechanic was spells that at level 3 turn into creatures, so that's Gauntlets of Sulgrim. And level 1 Gauntlets is just give a friendly creature 2 armor, and then it deals damage equal to its armor, just like an Aegis Knight trigger. But at the later level, it becomes a monster that, to be honest, I'm going to have to go and read, because I don't remember exactly all of the stats that it has on it. So we'll see. Sometimes the Herald mechanic acts as like a little bit of a drawback. You'd wish that you didn't have to do that, but there's definitely going to be some crazy things going on here. Looks like he's able to deal with the Relic Scout. He put out the Relic Scout just to be a blocker of damage. Patron doubling the attack plus a Frontline Combatant just dealing 6. Frontline Combatant is just a 6 damage burn spell effectively. Alright, so we have the stats from General Ginyu. Okay, so the Forge is each friendly creature gains 6 armor. And it is a 15-15, so immediately comes down as at least a 15-21. Then the Activate is you get to deal damage equal to its armor, or Activate to deal damage equal to one of your friendly creature's armor. I think it counts its own armor and gets to deal 6 damage to something effectively. Which is pretty good, but it means you can't like snowball on your G.S.F Commando or something with it. So sometimes it's a little bit of a drawback. And there you go. Just as quickly, the board is cleared with a Frontline Combatant getting to deal 26 damage to the creature across from it. Frontline Combatant deals damage equal to its armor when it comes into play, and then that creature deals damage equal to its attack back to Frontline Combatant. Well, the attack damage was irrelevant because of Frontline Combatant's 13 armor. Then Aegis Knight says each creature deals damage equal to the creature across from it. Okay, G.S.F can, or not G.S.F, Sulgrim can activate on any of your friendly creatures. So we're definitely going to see that come up. However, Sulgrim is not as powerful as G.S.F Commando. So you might want Sulgrim in the center lane, but you might just want him in the side lane. And he is still going to pump up a G.S.F Commando. That'll mean G.S.F Commando deals 18 more damage. And these level 3 G.S.Fs are going to be pretty crazy. Here we see a level 2 G.S.F from Naka just before the rank up. And then a Gauntlets of Sulgrim to finish off the underdropped Ironbound Reinforcements here. It's going to leave this guy with 16 armor. G.S.F Commando can now be activated to deal 32 damage to anything. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 3.1 for Naka. So Naka is on player level 3. Oh, and he would have to be, right? Because he didn't, or maybe he did play 1 G.S.F Commando on the first rank here. Still have a pretty healthy life total. Alright, he's going to give him an awkward choice here. He's just going to push through for 12 damage, which really isn't all that much. And then he's going to play a G.S.F Commando. So Naka can activate his G.S.F Commando to kill absolutely anything on the board. If he has a Gauntlets, he'll be able to deal even more than that. And let's see. Is this matchup just the first person to get a level 2 G.S.F Commando? Probably not. Because Sobrah's life total is still high enough, and Naka's really not putting the pressure on him. Naka is going to get to clear the field here, but I think we can see a play like, and then, wow, yeah, Relic Scout to, oh, even better than Relic Scout. It's going to be another G.S.F Commando, so that one can swing for 12. So I think we might need something along the lines of Frontline Combatant plus Aegis Knight for Sobrah now. Yes, that's true, Bacon Poet. Yeah, I did kind of neglect to mention that there. If you just put all of your armor on the G.S.F Commando, then when you draw a Sulgrim, you can throw his armor or damage in the amount of the G.S.F's armor towards a Sulgrim. Man, we couldn't get these guys to just put one Forgeborn in their deck. these guys both put one Forgeborn in their deck, we would have a great like history and almost all of the mechanics of Solforge in this one game. We'd have armor, breakthrough, heralds, free spells, soulbind, cards that check your hand size, cards from Alpha, cards from the newest set. We'd be looking at a lot here. Alright, 15. We're going to take out that. So, Sobrah's not really doing anything with his play here. He is leveling up his frontline combatants. He has bound cards, cards that are good underdrops. Upgrade, that's a great point, Ginyu. Upgrade as well being showcased here. A lot of the really sweet mechanics from Solforge that will exist as kind of a history of everything that this game was. Player effects as well. Yeah, Ignir was played for a little bit. We got him on camera for a second. But I didn't get to see too much of him. But even just this game, right? Even though it's just a mono Aloyan mirror, this game really does showcase a lot. So Naka is going to use the G.S.F to kill the frontline combatant, hitting it for 36. Then he's going to push through 11 damage, and I think he neglected to use the frontline combatant there. Yeah, looks like Naka decided not to use frontline combatants trigger. Yeah, that's true. We did get info from one of the players that they had the Ignir for lethal, but had to, unfortunately, die before they were able to take over the game here. Alright, is this going to be enough? 10 damage plus 15? Not quite. Not quite, but it's a start. And both players' life totals are pretty high still. We are going to see a player level 4 here. For sure. We are almost in it. So, there Sobrah used Ironbound Reinforcements 2, which, if Ironbound Reinforcements level is... You know what? We're kind of going to get to see a Forgeborn, because Ironbound Reinforcements is almost a Forgeborn. Because it's a card you play on player level 4, right? I'm going to count it. I always joke that Shardbound Invoker is a Forgeborn, because that card is so strong. Here we see Sobrah able to pick up the pressure just a little bit more. His G.S.F has been able to kind of take out anything that Sobrah has been doing. I just got some more armor on it as well. Alright, Gauntlets of Sulgrim. Oh, he used Gauntlets so he could take out the creature in lane 1 as well. Alright, that puts a Gauntlets in Naka's deck for the rank up, because Naka did just rank up. I think Sobrah is not in a horrible position here, though maybe that's not true. G.S.F Commando has 23 armor. Is it going to be able to kill it? Aegis Knight is able to take it down. Finally. Good riddance. So Sobrah is able to clear the field there. That is the board clear that you need. Frontline Combatant, dealing damage equal to its armor. That killed the guy in 5. And then Aegis Knight, which makes all of your creatures deal damage equal to their armor to the creature across from him. That's going to clear out the G.S.F, but now Naka has just ranked up. He's got a Sulgrim in the deck. He's got 2 level 3 G.S.F commandos. So that is all pretty good. And Sobrah has been behind enough that he hasn't been able to play his own G.S.Fs. The Patron is going to pump the Relic Hunter to get him in for some damage. Oh, and then Gauntlets is going to take it out. So that's 18 direct damage. Sobrah goes down to 16. And Sobrah now has to figure out a way to deal with this Relic Hunter with Trample. Every card played on player level 4. I mean, tell me that Frontline Combatant wasn't a Forgeborn right there. That was a freaking Forgeborn, dudes. Ooh, that is a sweet, sweet positive battle. That wasn't a positive battle? Oh, it was not a positive battle. But that was still a sweet, sweet battle for the Patron. And now we actually, for the first time, have a large attack creature in the center lane. Sobrah may have just been able to take over this game. A large attack creature in the center lane, if it's large enough, will mean that your opponent isn't just protected by bubbles. Let's do the math here. If Naka plays a level 3 G.S.F. Commando, I'm going to have to look up exactly what those stats are. G.S.F. Commando, the level 3 stats are 19 health, but then how much armor does it get? It gets 3 armor. So 22 makes it 31. It'll be able to survive, but it'll still negative battle. It'll just chump block it for 2 turns. Sulgrim would have a lot of health. Sulgrim would have 30 total health, and 15 of that would be armor. But you see what I'm saying? Like, Sobrah was able to make such powerful plays that... Or, no, that wasn't Sobrah. NakaCristo was able to make such powerful plays. All right, so here we have the G.S.F. Commando and the Sulgrim. Okay, it's all happening. And 18 armor now on the G.S.F. Commando in the center lane. That means it's going to take 6 damage each turn. Oh, wow. Naka, I don't know if you guys saw what he did there. Naka battled first, and then he played his creatures. So Naka opted to take 29 damage there so that he would have less damage on his G.S.F. Commando. That is pretty good. But is it going to be enough? I think it might be. It's just a 24 damage creature. And the 15 attack from Sulgrim means that Sulgrim is lethal, and also G.S.F. Commando can push through Sulgrim for lethal. Naka doesn't have to do any more work here. The game is kind of laid out for him. Patron is obviously an insane card at this point. But even Patron might not be enough to save him. Alright, that is going to be a Gauntlets of Sulgrim and an Ironbound Reinforcements to push him down to 3. Oh, I don't know about that. 36. Oh, okay, no. Naka is going to not be able to kill the Frontline Combatant here. 36 isn't enough. Don't think he's dead this turn. Yeah, he's definitely not dead. Because the Combatant can deal 6 and 6, while G.S.F. is at 13. So if Naka needs to, he can activate to kill the creature in lane 1, and then just play cards to trade off in lanes 2 and 3. It does leave him exposed potentially to Gauntlets or something of the like. Oh, it's 3 times 18. I just can't get that right, can I? Okay, so, right, G.S.F. Commando can do whatever the hell it wants. G.S.F. Commando can kill this frontline combatant. He obviously doesn't have a Ironbound Reinforcements, or this game would be over. And are we going to see a trade in lane 4? We are. Okay. And then he gets in for 11 points of damage. So G.S.F. Commando was able to stick around, and that's going to be enough damage push right there. Frontline Combatant to take out a Relic Scout is going to finish off the Relic Scout and allow Sobrah to get in for the last points of damage. Let's queue up our next game here. And watch as these players completed here. Alrighty. So that makes Sobrah up. Oops. Means Sobrah is now up 1-0 against Naka, and Naka is still on the top, so... Wait, that's right, right? Sobrah's up. Yes, okay. So Sobrah is up a game. And this could be the very last game of Solforge here. The last game of Solforge. Yeah, this is a good final. Obviously, mirror matches are not like super exciting, but there's a lot of plays to be made in this mirror matchup. And here we have Naka leading with G.S.F. Commando. Definitely one of the stronger cards in this matchup. Maybe the most strong card alongside Nexus Bubble. Frontline Combatant battling it away, and a G.S.F. Commando of his own for Sobrah. So no bubbles yet for either player. But definitely some strong things going on here. I do also want to say I am going to do some giveaways, but the games have all been going so quick I haven't really been able to fire off any giveaways. So after this, maybe we'll draft and just give away a bunch of Solforge cards, because I got a bunch of Solforge cards and nothing else to do with them, so might as well get rid of them. We see an Aegis Knight there, plus the activation from G.S.F. Commando. 1 damage from the Aegis Knight, 1 damage from the G.S.F., plus the doubled attack. Gives us a total of 8, and allows us to finish off the frontline combatant there. Then a Patron of Anvillon, and the first bubble of the match is for Sobrah. It's going to make that a pretty clean, positive battle. And did G.S.F. Commando use his ping yet? Looks like G.S.F. used his ping on the Aegis Knight. Oh, and that was a good ping on the Aegis Knight there too, yeah, because now Aegis Knight will trade with G.S.F. Commando. A frontline combatant could also just eat up that commando and push through some damage. There's a lot of cards you want to level. You want to play your bubbles. You want to level your G.S.F. commandos. Bubble, I think, is the most important thing. I think Bubble is the most important card in the matchup. Then either Patron or G.S.F. Commando. And the reason I put Patron so high is because it's the only card in the deck that's level gated. So You do have to be mindful of that. It's the only level-gated card in the deck. Nothing else is level-gated. Obviously, you want to play all your Relic Scouts when you draw them. That one's pretty straightforward, but not really worth discussing. So here comes Naka with some patrons, and he's going to double the attack on his other patron. And patron's also just good damage push, right? So here it looks like the players are, at least at the start here, leveling slightly different cards. That might just be because of the order that the players have drawn the cards in. We'll see if Sobrah starts to play patrons now and Naka starts to play bubbles. And they just kind of trade off. Well, Sobrah, is going to play some more bubbles, and that winds up being pretty good. It is worth noting, you can level your patrons on player level 1 if your opponent is not clocking you, and then play your bubbles on the next player level. And that winds up being fine. You just need to make sure you play your bubbles eventually, and you don't want that eventually to be end of player 2, player level 2, early player level 3. If you do that, it might be too late, and you just might not be able to come back from what your opponent's doing. So sometimes you see the bubble in player level 1, and you just have to play it, because you don't know when in player level 2 you're going to draw it. Naka is going to play his third patron, which is the other card that we said might be important. And G.S.F Commando, there's a chance G.S.F Commando is just more important than patron, but we shall see. Naka goes more for a board clear route than a more aggressive route. I'm curious if it would have been good to see him just double the attack on Aegis Knight or Anvillon Arbiter. I'm sorry, not Anvillon Arbiter, Patron of Anvillon. And here we have a Patron plus a G.S.F Commando for Sobrah. So I believe that is 2 Commandos for Sobrah. Or no, that's 3 Commandos for Sobrah, isn't it? 3 Commandos, double bubble. Here comes a bubble on Cristo. Actually, I just missed the bubble on Cristo last turn. Still feels like Sobrah is a little bit ahead. It's a little hard to pay attention to exactly how many bubbles every player has played. That is going to deal with the center lane creature. Not a huge deal for Sobrah there. He really didn't care about the level 1 patron that was sticking around there. But I do like that the Aegis Knight just snaps off a positive battle on the G.S.F Commando here. The G.S.F Commando will get to clean up the patron in lane 5. So that's pretty good. Yeah, a wipe clean would be interesting. You just don't play your bubbles and then you wipe clean, like early in rank 2 after your opponent's played 2 bubbles. And with the metagame as it exists, I'm kind of curious if wipe clean wouldn't be bad in this deck. You'd have it for the mirror, and you'd know that you'd have it, so you could play like accordingly. All right, looks like that's going to be a big patron in the center lane here. Sobrah is going to try to get a little bit aggressive with these things. Oh no, he is going to pump the other patron as well, so leaves him with a 12-17. But yeah, wipe clean would also be good against the burn deck. It's not great against Enduring Vitality. It's okay against poison, but a lot of times it seems a little bit mediocre against Enduring Vitality because all of their creatures are pretty much vanilla creatures anyways. Wipe clean doesn't work against Shardplate Behemoth, right? Shardplate Behemoth just becomes an 11/11. I think that's the case. Yeah. Wipe Away is a buff to Behemoth. And I guess Naka's got a tricky turn here. Alright, he's going to go for some damage push. Alright, that is a pretty tricky turn to be willing to commit to that, and he does. He goes for the double buff on the Aegis Knight to turn 8 damage into 32. That's going to bring Sobrah down to 52. And those are the kind of plays that they're awkward, because he drew both of his patrons in kind of an interesting spot, but you look at in lane 1, that's going to trade. In lane 2, actually, I'm not even sure I love the block in lane 2. I think I would have loved to see that exact same play, but with the guy in lane... I'm sorry, not lane 2, lane 3. The guy from the center lane just throwing that over to lane 4. And then you would have 4 or 3 active creatures. Because right now, all he did with that Anvillon Arbiter, he essentially made it a Warmonger mod that gained him 12 life, because all he's going to be doing is blocking this guy right here. It is going to survive and stick around for 2 turns, but in both of those turns, it's going to deal 6 damage to Sobrah's patron, and that damage is going to get negated by the 6 armor that patron has. Alright, this is maybe a Relic Scout chump block. No, it's going to be an Ironbound Reinforcements coming in clutch, finishing that off. Did he need the Relic Scout there? I guess he did. And Frontline Combatant to finish that off. I think I would have also potentially liked to see Frontline Combatant kill the Relic Scout. Just send the trigger over at the scout. The patron was already dealt with. Sobrah's not really playing for damage push here. He's playing more for late game, especially with the double bubbles. Yeah, I guess he did need the Relic Scout there to try to finish off the creature in lane 2. So Sobrah is playing the late game. However, even when you play for the late game, you do need to be careful, because Naka just needs to get one more creature in like that on player level 3, and that's what Naka's plan is. So Naka's kind of put a lot of his eggs into one basket there. He's been playing all of his patrons and leveling all of his patrons, which is good, but kind of curious how that's going to work out for him. It looks to me like Sobrah's in a better spot, but also, at the same time, a lot of this game is going to come down to how many G.S.F. commandos these players can draw. Now, if Naka decided to play patrons over G.S.F. commandos that last turn, then he's very all in. But I don't know how many G.S.F. commandos he still has. Sobrah has also leveled more G.S.F. commandos, but we'll have to see. Another tricky turn here for Naka. Naka doesn't really have to worry about the patron. Sobrah has already played 2 patrons on this player level. So it's not like Sobrah's going to be able to turn this 12 damage into 48 damage. At least not super quickly. Alright, looks like Frontline Combatant plus Gauntlets. So first he eats up the Frontline Combatant. Oh no. I'm not sure exactly what he did. Oh, maybe he needed all of that damage just to deal with the frontline combatant. I guess he did. It was a level 2 frontline combatant, so yeah, he needed to deal 12 damage to it. So he played combatant, hit it for 6, and then he played gauntlet, hit it for 8. Here's the G.S.F. commandos. That was a really quick turn from Sobrah. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and there is also a benefit to when you know exactly what you want to do, you make your play, you send it back to your opponent, and now Sobrah can kind of time snowball on NakaCristo, which isn't something that comes up that often, but it is something that comes up. Yeah, Patron would not have been able to get taken down there. It is 17 defense, so he would have been able to hit it for 14, actually, right? Would have been able to hit it for 6 plus 8 equals 14. So would have survived with 3 hit points there. Looks like it will get taken out here. But so if your opponent is already taking a lot of time on their turns, that means you've got a lot of time to figure out what your plays are. And you get to pretty much figure out what your plays are going to be while your opponent is still taking their turn. And then just, they take all their time. You're essentially, both players wind up using the opposing player's clock. So I'm not sure how much the clock is going to go into it here. These might even be untimed matches. It is the finals. We'd like the players to have enough time to make all of their decisions. So I'm not cheering for a timeout game, but it is something worth discussing. And that's going to kill off the Patron here. But the G.S.F. Commando 2 is going to be able to deal 6 damage with his activate ability. So that's enough to take out the Patron. It's a positive battle. A lot of chump blocks here from NakaCristo. A lot of chump blocks that just like play right into the armor. I'm curious if he needed to make just more aggressive plays. Like, is it better to just put this Ironbound Reinforcements in lane 2 right now so that he can get in some more damage? All right, it is timed, and that makes sense. I mean, I'm not even sure if you can do untimed games right now, but it's timed with the new clock, which I think is good for everybody. But effectively, you get into a spot where you're using your opponent's clock. All right, Sobrah goes for the damage push there, it looks like. I have to double check that. No, he doesn't. No damage is pushed there. Never mind. Okay, you can still challenge a friend. Well, whether this is timed or untimed, either way, it is a sweet game. This is actually a 7-14 in the center lane right now. So, yeah, because of the double bubble on Sobrah. Naka is doing a decent job controlling the center lane. He is going to probably lose control of it here. But we are also in player level 3. So we could see Naka continue to control the center lane and also take out the G.S.F. The only thing that Naka's really played are those patrons. But a patron can go in front of the G.S.F. Commando and eat it up. That might be what we're seeing here. Alright, so that is a G.S.F. Commando, or a patron doubling its own attack. And then we have a Gauntlets as his second play. And that's going to clean up. So it's a little worse play than we would have liked to see here from Naka. He lost control of the center lane, and he did get control of the G.S.F. Commando, though Sobrah could very easily have a level 3 G.S.F. Commando, and a level 3 G.S.F. in the center lane could spell GG at this point in the game. Naka still only has one bubble, so he is a little bit behind there, but no player's gotten particularly lucky or unlucky. It seems they've both drawn about the same amount of level 2 cards. So the Solforge gods are being kind to both of them here. But unlike Game 1, they've definitely leveled some drastically different cards. Naka trying to get carried off the back of this patron, and Naka has 2 more patrons in his deck. Sobrah's got to look at this like, wait, if I don't block this patron, I could just be taking damage. I could just be taking lethal. 48 right to the face. And that's a very real fear that's going to come into play on Sobrah's side of the field here. Question is, can he afford to not care? We could see a block. Yeah, I was curious if we might see a block from something like Relic Scout. Okay, there was a little bit of lag on that end. Looked like it appeared correctly on the stream, though. Okay, well, it's going to deal a little bit of damage to the patron, and he is going to block it. Patron is going to gobble this guy up, though, and Sobrah's going to now be in a position where, okay, let's say Naka misses here. He's going to have to do the same thing. He's going to block it again. He's just going to be throwing cards away into it, and he also still has to develop a way to win. Sobrah's behind, but a G.S.F Commando can get him right back into it, and just like that, a G.S.F Commando from Naka out of nowhere. This is a single bubbled, no additional forge armor G.S.F Commando. And there was the patron, so good block by Sobrah. But now, what can Sobrah do? All Sobrah can do is hope that his opponent... Oh, okay. He goes for the bonus attack on G.S.F. Okay. I thought he was just going to pump his... I thought he was going to pump his Arbiter again. Staff would be cool, but you know what I think would be cool too? Just a little jetpack action here. If the players had a singleton jetpack, that would go a long way. No, that is going to be a patron trading with patron. Naka only has one level 3 patron in his deck now on, so Sobrah can kind of play with that knowledge. He develops a 12-20, though that's really just going to be a chump block on the G.S.F. Staff of Varus is a sweet card. I do like... Oh, Staff of Varus. That is a sweet card. We finally see the second bubble from Naka. Are we going to see the third bubble? Oh, we don't need to see the third bubble. Oh, no, we do. The Aegis Knight allows that to be a tripled armor trigger. So, Aegis Knight lets Naka get in for 21 here. And now Naka is in a really solid position. He's drawn a few more level 3 cards, but Sobrah did also play more bubbles on player level 1. And that's the tricky part about playing bubble. If you play your bubbles on player level 1, then you're going to have less level 3 cards in your deck when player level 3 rolls around. Now, level 3 Aegis Knight is actually the same thing as a level 1 Aegis Knight. He didn't need a level 3 Aegis Knight there, but it is going to provide more pressure on the board. G.S.F Commando plus Aegis Knight is lethal, so if Sobrah is able to deal with the patron and chump block the G.S.F for a turn, he is still going to succumb to the 26 damage from Naka's other 2 creatures. And we're going to see a double G.S.F plus a Relic Scout chump block. None of these cards die this turn from battle, so all of these cards get to stick around. I think, barring any Gauntlets or Aegis Knights, these cards are going to stick around for another second here. I don't know. Aegis Knight for the win? Oh no, G.S.F Commando for the win. Right. That's all we needed to see. That is going to tie it up here, 2-2. So, 2-2, players are tied. NakaCristo with 1, Sobrah with 1 as well. And let's see if this last game is started up here. Not just yet. Not just yet. But this is a crazy close game, and it looked like the player that played less Nexus Bubbles wound up winning. Naka played all 3 of his patrons in rank 1, and that really helped him out. They both have the exact same deck, yeah, so a lot of figuring out how to win the mirror match here, and you guys are good to go. So here we have it here, the finals of Kaelari's Titanium Challenge. Did I say Kaelari's? Kaelari's Titanium Challenge Season 6 Finals. Here we go. Yeah, they said they were brothers. I'm not sure if that was a joke or if that, like, if they were just saying that they're both playing the same deck or if they're actually brothers. But this is the brothers final, the brothers duo of Sobrah and NakaCristo. Kaelari's Titanium Challenge Season 6 Finals. And they are both going with a Mono Aloyan G.S.F special. Naka leads with a bubble. We missed the bubble, but Naka has a bubble on him. And then Sobrah went back with a bubble and a G.S.F of his own. Yeah, one of them bought the entire deck with gold and then shared it to their brother. Here you go, bro. Have fun. Alright, an Avatar. Pretty strong turn from NakaCristo, but not really the cards that you want to level necessarily. We have an Avatar, then we have a Frontline Combatant, and 2 Relic Scouts to boot. Don't know what that means, Phil Hardman. 4-2. Alright, Gauntlets of Sulgrim. Looks like Sobrah went bubble gauntlets. So Sobrah still sticking with the double bubble plan, and that GSF's going to be a little bit hard to nail down, and it's going to get to kill something off every turn. Yeah, I don't know if 4-2 was referring to the match score, but these players are 1-1. They both won a game. And this is... Oh, okay. So the numbers above the player, that's actually their ranking on the ladder. So Sobrah is currently gold 4, and Naka is currently gold 1. That's not something that I put up there for the tournament or anything. That is their in-game ladder rank. Yeah, a little bit confusing there. But yeah, your in-game ladder rank displays regardless of which mode you're playing, either with your friends or with like in draft, you still get your rank displayed regardless. We're going to see a G.S.F from Naka, and then we're going to see an Aegis Knights. That Aegis Knight isn't going to do anything, right? I guess it's going to block G.S.F, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I care too much about the Aegis Knight being there if I'm Sobrah, but I guess leaving it around, like Sobrah now has to make the decision. Should be Sobrah's turn again now, right? After that play. Yeah, so Sobrah just started their turn. And okay, Aegis Knight to finish it off. That's a pretty good play there. And then can't do anything else with G.S.F. One. I guess G.S.F hit the other G.S.F. I guess so. Yeah, okay, yeah, it did. Okay. So he played a... So normally Avatar will just trade with Avatar, but if you can give it one additional attack from Aegis Knight, then it will... which is effectively one additional attack, then it'll be able to positive battle there. And he went Relic Scout Aegis Knight in lane 1 and threw the G.S.F trigger into lane 1 as well. You know what's funny? Root-Forged Avatar, the Utera one, might be the only guy... Might be like the only card, or the only cycle, where the Utera one isn't the best one. Alright, Frontline Combatant, plus the G.S.F Commando, so... Frontline Combatant dealt the damage to the creature across from it, and then G.S.F also sent its own damage there. Both of those were able to take out the G.S.F Commando, and then Naka replaces his Frontline Combatant with another G.S.F, and that is going to get the armor from the bubble. That puts us into player level 2 for Naka. And we'll see what Sobrah plays. Interestingly, no patrons yet this game. And that is going to make this game, unless we see some patrons right now from Sobrah, that is going to make this game much different than the last. Yeah, no patrons. Wow. It's crazy you can deal 10 damage to G.S.F Commando and still have it stick around. Yeah, I think you're right there too, Ginya. But even that one's close. That one's even still close, I'll be honest. So no patrons of Anvillon for either player, right? I didn't miss anything. No, I think we just have a bunch of G.S.F Commandos this game. We've got a bunch of Aegis Knights and Frontline Combatants, G.S.F Commandos, and Steelforged Avatars. So I think what that means, I think we're going to player level 4 again. I don't see how these players are going to be able to push through enough damage without leveling their G.S.F Commandos. I think we're going to see what I think you'd want to be doing right now during this player level is still play some G.S.F Commandos, still play some still play some Frontline Combatants when you get them. But I think what the players want to be doing, okay, well, if you're able to play G.S.F Commandos and have them be good, obviously that's still really good. But other than that, what I think these players want to be doing is playing Ironbound Reinforcements and then using patrons on those Ironbound Reinforcements. I am pretty sure this game is going to go to player level 4 here. And when that happens, you're going to want those pseudo Forgeborn effects, those level 3 creatures that have additional triggers. All right, so we do see a G.S.F. and an Ironbound Reinforcements. Both players are drawing pretty well-leveled cards here. And that allows Sobrah to take over the center lane. So, Sobrah can kind of take over this game right now. He can activate his G.S.F. Commando to deal 22 damage to everything. That's going to let him take over this game. But Naka is definitely not out. And the reason that Naka isn't out is because Sobrah cannot double the attack on that G.S.F. Commando. The patrons are level gated, which means nobody's going to be able to double the attack of their level 2 creatures. Maybe Sobrah can kind of go ham on his level 1 G.S.F. Commando here. But in all likelihood, Naka's going to be able to clean up the level 1 creatures. He's gonna have to say, you know what? That G.S.F. is going to hit me for 8 a turn, or hit me for 15 a turn. But even still, even if it starts hitting him for 15, that gives him a player level and a half, and it's going to get him into player level 3. But I don't think Sobrah is going to be able to close out the game even with this strong of a G.S.F. Commando. I could be wrong, but without being able to double its attack, it seems like that's the main way that damage gets pushed through in this game. We've got some gauntlets here. Oh, okay. Looks like G.S.F. Commando might even be dying right now. No, it's not. Okay, so G.S.F. Commando wasn't taken down, but he dealt a lot of damage to it. And he dealt enough damage to it that it's only at 16. Sobrah could go for a bubble here. A Gauntlets is better than a bubble. Gives a friendly creature armor 5. Sobrah's able to take out both of the creatures. So, yeah, this is why I was kind of saying, like, you can't really... I mean, you need to kill the G.S.F. Commando at some point, but you also just, like, if Naka just plays a patron to trade with the creatures in 2 and 3, I think he can still win this game that way. And he can take 8 damage a turn, but I don't know, now that prospect is getting limited as well. How many times does 8 go into 66 there? Looks like it goes in 9 times? Or, no, 8 times. Just about 8 times. 64 is 8 times 8. So, Sobrah can afford to take, or Naka can afford to take 8 points of damage from this. All right, Aegis Knight. No, there's no way an Aegis Knight can finish this off. At 17 points of damage. Aegis Knight plus Gauntlets. Wow, he did it. He did it. He took out the G.S.F., and part of the reason why he was able to take out the G.S.F., he wasn't under any particular clock. Some of the other games, you leave a creature around, that attack gets doubled, you're in it. Then the attack gets doubled again, you're in it again. But now Sobrah looks like he might be in a spot to play some patrons. If he draws them, he can get in for a clean 32 damage here, put Naka down to 26. 26 would be pretty good. All right, he goes for a G.S.F. Commando, and are we going to see the first patron of the game? The players might have just given up on patrons right now. I'm pretty confident. Oh, okay. Well, if you can just follow it up with another G.S.F. Commando, you definitely don't play patron there. That was a good play from Sobrah. We saw how difficult it was for Naka to deal with the first one. He had to deal like 5 cards into it, and this is going to be a similar feat here for Naka. The one thing that he does have going for himself is that it's not going to die on this turn, so he will at least get to chump block it. Here's a Frontline Combatant. Does he have the answer? Looks like he does. Frontline Combatant plus Gauntlets is going to deal 6 plus 8, which is 14, and then Aegis Battle dealt some battle damage there to finish it off. This deals 1 damage, this deals 2, so they can deal a total of 3 damage. We can finish this off with like a Relic Scout or something like that. Here's a big monster, though. Sobrah right before the rank up. It's going to make a big monster. That's going to be enough to take down the Aegis Knight. It was actually just enough with the 17 attack. So Sobrah gains control of the center lane as well as all of the other lanes. And now this damage, we've noticed this has really started to add up. Sobrah has a 17-18 out. That is pretty big. As well as a (8-4) that is attacking in and a 3-10 that is attacking in. Not to mention this 3-1. So how could Naka possibly get out of this? Well, he's got access to rank 3s. He's got 1 Nexus Bubble. He has to block this. This is 17. I mean, these are the most damage. It's hard to kill an unactive creature with armor on it. Because, like, Frontline Combatant is just going to negative battle. We might be looking at Frontline Combatant killing G.S.F and then positive battling this G.S.F. Alright, Nexus Bubble. I was curious if there would be a Nexus Bubble play. I don't know how that's going to translate into anything else, though. Relic Scout, Aegis Knight. Okay, that is what we see here. So those two things trade. And now we have an Aegis Knight. And this Aegis Knight is not really gaining anything from that, though. He bubbled, but the bubble does not really do anything here. G.S.F. Commando. Aegis Knight is irrelevant. He just played his highest attack creature. He gets in for 6, puts Naka down to 30. And now how does Sobrah get out of this one? Well, looks pretty unlikely with a G.S.F. Commando on the horizon. And looks like I was wrong and we're not going to be able to make it into player level 3. I can't imagine there is a Edict in either of these decks. Both of these decks are pretty aggressive and probably don't want to play Edict. But that's pretty much all we could go for here. An Ambriel's Edict for the save. We've got a Gauntlets. You take 6 on your own turn, and then on your opponent's turn, you take 25. So looks like Sobrah has lethal right here. So that is going to wrap it up here. All Sobrah has to do is hit that battle button, and Sobrah is the winner of Kaelari's Titanium Challenge Season 6. Congratulations, Sobrah. You can find full deck lists for all of the players on SolforgeLadder.com. And you can find the game at SolforgeGame.com. I'm not sure if you can still download it on Steam. You can't download it in the App Store anymore. But you can find the game on your desktop if you already have it on your desktop. If not, well, you might be out of luck. We've got 24 more days in Solus here. So let's come together in solidarity